Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Did you ever see any of the videos or TV shows about emergency bunkers and where people have their bug out bunkers and think that's only for really rich people? Wouldn't that be nice to have something like that? But it doesn't have to be just for rich people. If you use your imagination and look at the resources that you have, you may find that you can have a bunker also. Why might you want a bunker? Well, think about an emergency situations. Lots of people have emergency supplies in their home and they think they would never leave their home. Everything is there, they're comfortable. But there are many reasons why you may have to leave your home, and that's why you need a secondary location. For example, my son's house burned down. He had no choice but to leave his home and abandon all of his supplies. Perhaps you live in an area where there are hurricanes and you have to evacuate from your home. What if a tornado strikes your neighborhood and your home is no longer suitable to live in? Then you need to have someplace else that you could go. So there are all kinds of reasons, some of them temporary and some of them may even be permanent. But we need to be aware of the risks where we live. What could happen that could cause you to leave your home? And that's why you would want a bug out bunker or a secondary location or something that you can have your supply of emergency items that you could use if you needed to. Think about it. What if an earthquake started shaking your house right this minute? That's what happens if you live in earthquake country, and your home can be damaged where it's no longer safe to stay in. And just like that, you need to leave your home. So start thinking about the risks where you live, and then think about the possibilities of what you could use as a bug out bunker. Maybe you have a shed in your backyard. I have an old shed that I turned into what I call my granny camp on some private property that I own in Alaska. And it is my off-grid cabin. I love to go out to my granny camp. I spend a lot of time out there, but it actually could be a bug out location because it has the necessities of things that you need. It doesn't have any running water. It doesn't have any electricity. It doesn't have any of the niceties that we have in our comfortable homes, but it still can provide all of the areas of survival that you would need. Maybe you have a travel trailer or an RV. I recently bought one to keep in the lower 48. Then when I'm visiting my family members, I have a place to stay. I can take my grandchildren in it and I can travel around. But then I also have a bug out bunker because you can stockpile your trailer or your RV just like you could a bunker, because it's separated from your home, and in an emergency you could go there. So think about the options you have for recreation, for places that you like to go and things that you have available to you. It doesn't have to be just for an emergency. Maybe you have a shed in your yard, you could store some belongings. Maybe you have a trailer that sits in your yard. Maybe you even have a storage trailer that you use to haul things. Could you put some supplies in there? And the more that you have, the better it's going to suit you should you need to use those supplies. What are some bunker basics for preppers? Here's an emergency prepping list. These are some prepping supplies that you would want whether they're in your home or they're in your bug out bunker. Everybody needs fresh drinking water. You need to have some place that you can store extra drinking water. No matter the emergency, every single emergency, every single day, people need fresh drinking water. So it's vital that you begin your preps with fresh drinking water. Next, you should have some sort of water purification system. There are all different kinds, all different price points. You can get a life straw, which allows you to drink water right out of a stream, scoop some up in a cup and suck it out and drink it up through your life straw. You can find emergency bottles that have built-in filters. One that I found is the mini well that not only can you screw it onto a bottle, you can pour the water from the bottle into a cup and filter it that way. You can also fill up a bucket. It comes with an attachment that allows you to filter from the bucket into another container. There are all kinds of different ways to have water filters and purification. You need to make sure you have some of those in your prepping supplies as well. The next bunker basic is food. Think about emergency food that you could leave in a secondary location. If your location could freeze, you don't want canned goods because they could be ruined. If you have critters, then you need to make sure that you store the food into an airtight, hard container so that the critters can't get in it. And the first things you should do, just like your bug out bag and your prepper pantry, is have some just open and eat foods that are already ready to eat. You don't have to heat them up, but you could heat them up to make them taste better, but it isn't necessary. You need to have several days worth of food that you could just tear open and eat. Then you need some simple, just add water, maybe a little bit of cooking, or 2 packages of things you could stir together to make something to eat. The bare necessities of the easiest types of foods are what would be good for your bunker basics. If you can store canned goods, that's good. You can open those. Make sure you include a can opener. Then you want to have some basic way that you can heat up food and boil water if you need to purify some. So get some sort of a basic emergency stove, even if you just get a butane stove. They're very inexpensive, they're simple to use, the fuel is generally readily available, but you need to make sure that you stockpile extra of those kind of canisters. If you have an RV, then it probably has a propane stove. So you make sure that you have propane so that you can use the facilities in your bug out bunker, RV, or trailer. Whatever your location is going to determine the types of supplies that you want to include in your emergency bunker. Everybody needs some way to start fires in an emergency. And no, you're not going to start a fire if you're in an apartment building, but even if you're just outside, you can gather up some sticks and make a little fire if you need to. So you want to make sure that you have a way to start the fire. You need to have some lighters. You need to have some matches. You need some fire starters. And then practice that. Go to the park in the picnic area where they have the little barbecue grills. Practice making little fires. Go to a campground and build some in a fire pit. It's a kind of skill that you need to practice so that you're comfortable with it, so that you know you can handle that if you need to. Next, you need some kind of lights. Look for things like headlamps and flashlights, but also look at lanterns. You can find solar lanterns, you can find battery operated lanterns, you can even get a whole variety of different kinds of little lights at the Dollar Tree and pick up a few extra batteries. It doesn't have to be expensive. So if you have nothing, get something and then upgrade as you can. But always make sure that you have something. Have a few candles, have a way to light the candles, and make sure that you have a safe container to burn them in, because the last thing you want to do is set your emergency bunker on fire. You want to be extra careful anytime you're using something with an open flame. You would want to include a carbon monoxide detector if you're burning any kind of fuel, so that you have that with you with your emergency supplies, so that you're aware if the carbon monoxide is filling the space where you are. You can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't sense it. It's silent and it's very deadly. So you want to make sure that you have a carbon monoxide detector anytime you're using anything for cooking or lighting that includes an open flame. A fire extinguisher is also a great item to have with your bunker basics. Next, think about ways to stay warm, and what if it's summer, ways to stay cool. Maybe you want to have a portable heater. There's different kinds of portable heaters that are safe to use in small areas. You can also have an extra stack of blankets, a few extra sleeping bags, and even when it gets hot, perhaps you can get a USB rechargeable fan. They're not very much money. You can clip them on wherever you want, recharge them, and then you have the little bit of air that you can blow along and cool you if you need to. Having a bit of airflow can make a lot of difference in keeping you comfortable in all kinds of situations. Next, make sure that you have some sturdy tarps. This is not something you should buy at the Dollar Tree. You need to get a sturdy, heavy-duty tarp. What if something happens to, say, the roof of your RV or your emergency shed, and you need to use the tarp to cover over something from wind damage, or a tree branch blew through it, or it just started leaking in the rain, then you have something that you can help keep your area safe. You can also use that tarp to put up some shade if it gets extremely hot and you need to be outside of your emergency bunker or your RV. You may have an awning, but you may not. So have something that you could build a simple shade shelter. There are all kinds of reasons to have a tarp that can help you in many survival situations. Next, get a good supply of first aid supplies. You can buy a basic kit as a good starting point, and usually they will include the directions on how to render first aid, and then you can look around and think about what are the risks, what are the first aid emergencies that you're most concerned with, and get additional supplies so that you can take care of any emergency situation. You'll also want some hygiene supplies. You don't need every single thing that you would want in your pampering spa day, but you're going to want the basics from toothbrushes, hairbrushes, soap, baby wipes, chapstick, bug spray, and sunscreen. There are all kinds of things that you would need, so start with the basics. You can even get just a travel size of each of those. Have them with your supplies, add to your stockpile as things become available and you think about that's something you would like to have, add it to your collection of supplies. We need ways to communicate. Most of us have our cell phone. Do you have an external battery that you could charge it up if you don't have electricity? Do you have some kind of a radio so that you can find out what's going on? Maybe even walkie-talkies that you can put in your bug out bunker so that you can keep track and communicate with the people in your party. If some of them go out and walk around, then you can still keep track of what's going on, what do you see, and where are you. Depending on the space, you'll want to have tools. Think about all the tools that you use, from hammers to shovels, screwdrivers, pliers, all of the things that you would want to have. Start collecting those items, even gather them in a bucket and put them with your bug out bunker supplies. In many emergencies, you need a copy of your most important documents. You need your identification, your passports, your social security number, your insurance information. You also need to have a copy of your important phone numbers. Who would you want to call? Everyone from your boss to your family members to your babysitter to your child's school. Write down all of those on a piece of paper and keep them with your emergency supplies. Have a copy in your bug out bag and also have a copy in your bug out bunker so that you can contact the most important numbers and people if you needed to. Make sure you have an emergency stash of cash, because in so many situations, cash can get you through to provide the things that you need. You may have in a power outage, your credit card doesn't work and you need to get gas. You may find that the stores are all closed, but someone on the street corner is selling bottles of water. There are all kinds of reasons why cash could help make your life better. If you have a localized emergency and you have to leave your home, you could use cash to pay for a hotel room if you needed to. There are all kinds of reasons and emergencies to have small bills. You don't want to have large bills, because if you want to buy a bottle of water, you want to be able to give the amount and not give them a large bill and you can't get any change back. So think about all the different scenarios where you might want to have cash on hand, and then make sure that you have some of that and that you store it safely. Go over the emergency prepping checklist. Make sure you have the supplies you need in your home. Make sure you have a basic bug out bag that has the 72-hour supplies that you would need. Have some supplies in your car in case you're away from home when an emergency happens, and then make sure that you've thought about, where could I have an emergency bug out bunker, and how could I stockpile some of my emergency supplies there to give me options during different kinds of emergency situations. Then make a plan with your family so that you know how to contact each other, what you would do if you're at home, what you would do if you're away from home, and make sure that you have a way to communicate with those people. It's also important to have photographs of your family members in case someone goes missing. You also want to have a picture of your pet and have a picture of your pet with you so you can say, here is a picture, this is my pet, should something happen. Make sure you have the supplies that you need for your pet as far as leashes, food, and all of the supplies that you use on a daily basis for your pets as well as the people that you love. Prepping doesn't have to be complicated. It's a challenge. Think about it a little at a time. What can I do to prepare myself for whatever crazy thing comes next? We've certainly put up with a lot of interesting challenges in the last few years, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. So think creatively. What can you do to be better prepared to face whatever is coming our way? If you enjoyed my video, I hope you'll share it with someone else you think might like it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.